coming up on this episode of Free Lunch.
He's explaining all of this. Go ahead.
Turns around and sees nothing but my chest. Treat your marriage like you would your bank account. Don't just keep withdrawing from it because it's going to turn negative.
The board game chess.
Okay.
The queen is the most powerful piece on the board.
Talk about her.
It's your boy, The Real Free, a.k.a. Freestyle Gospel. Another episode of Free Lunch. I got my co-host, the lovely, the grandest, the beautiful Mrs. Isis, a.k.a. Gloss with Isis.
Hey.
Today we got a special treat. Special treat. None other than
Who we got?
the Austin Kingdom.
You know what's dope about that?
The Austin Kingdom is in the building.
You know what's dope about that? Let's talk about the Austin dynasty. Because before I was an Elliot, I was a what? What was I?
Wow, you
What
was
was
from
she?
Austin, right?
I was an Austin.
Yo. Yeah,
Yeah.
we gotta figure that out. We gotta talk about that.
Listen.
So I got the Austin Kingdom here, y'all. Give it up for the Austin Kingdom. Let's go.
Hey.
The lovely Mr. and Mrs. Reggie and Latoya Austin. What's up, y'all? How y'all doing?
We're doing all
We're
right.
good.
doing all
We're
right.
good. Hello, hello.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for
Welcome.
having
Beautiful
us.
day. Yes. Now, I mean, about those Austins. I mean, where are your Austins from?
Everywhere, man.
Listen.
All right, where you born and raised?
Actually, I'm born and raised right here, man.
Right in New Haven?
Connecticut, man. New Haven, Connecticut. I'm an Elm City kid.
Hey.
That's right. Grew up in the KSI. They call it the Trey now, but you know, I'm a KSI kid.
You got Austins in the Carolinas?
We do have Austins in the Carolinas.
See, that's it. That's
Small
it.
world,
It's-
see?
See?
Small
Oh, child.
That's right. Because that's
right.
Yeah,
that's
them
what we're
Austins
at.
is
Y'all,
Stomping
man,
grounds.
listen, y'all sitting next to greatness. It's
Stomping
cool.
grounds.
It's cool.
That's fire.
We make you better.
Oh, Austin Kingdom. I love it. Another thing I love about the Austins is, well, first, we see Mr. Reggie Austin. You know, he might have some connections with the Carolina Austins of my wife's maiden name. I'm not as acquainted with Reggie, but I know Miss Latoya from about 20 years back.
Yes.
The college days, yes.
Long time.
She was a bull, but a super dope female. So, recently got reconnected with her back on social media, as social media does for so many of us. And I did some things for the Deltas.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So we reconnected there too.
Yep, you were a speaker at our Martin Luther King.
Yes, doing the poetry thing.
Fellowship. Yep.
Doing the poetry thing. But you guys are also amongst our oldest millennial married couples, like my wife and I.
Yes.
And it's such a unique generation because many people don't know that the millennials generation is the largest generation gap just beside the baby boomers
Yes.
gap.
Yep.
So your youngest millennial actually is about 24 up to I think 42 or something like that.
Around there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Around
Yep.
there. A huge gap. What I've always said is I don't think a 24-year-old got a daggone thing in common with me.
Not at all. We don't even have the same
Like,
music and
y'all had certain video. Matt, you was in high school with iPhone. Like
That part.
that part. If you had an iPhone in high school, me and you really can't. I don't see what we got.
You can't say
They
with
have
me.
no clue what a beeper is. Like
That-
they don't.
Listen.
There's too much of
Bro.
a gap.
Listen, my younger brother. Now keep in mind, my younger brother is 30. I went through a box at my house. He said, "Yo, bro, what's that?" I was like, "The SkyTel pager? You don't like? No, what's that?" We got it, but technically,
They see that.
But technically, we're
They see that and think you. Somebody see a pager now. They think asking you on house arrest.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's what
That's
a
crazy.
big black brick would look like.
Exactly.
Basically.
Exactly.
Nah, for sure. So, I mean, what I always love doing is being able to dialogue and chop it up with individuals. This is the Free Lunch Podcast, so it's about really free food for your soul. So it's the lunch is in there, but it's really to be act as a double entendre, to be something that content you can digest, whether it's on your car ride to work or on your lunch break. and actually something that's going to be food for the soul. So what makes it always interesting is to have people that can come and really chop it up. You have something in common, and be able to explore further. Now, I'm gonna ask that the two of you maybe give us a little bit about what it is you do individually. I know you guys are working professionals as well as entrepreneur. So maybe what you guys do individually, and if at all, go into a little bit what you try to do together and collaborate.
No worries. Queen.
You go first.
So for those listening, whether it be during your ride to work or at your lunch break, I am the King, Reginald Austin Jr. I'm from New Haven, Connecticut. Currently reside in the Hartford area. And from my personal profession, right, aside from being an entrepreneur and a dad and a coach and all of the things that life has to throw at you, I am personally a senior consultant. I do project management, primarily in the insurance industry, so specializing in IT and corporate infrastructure type related efforts.
Nice.
That's dope.
And I am the Queen, Catherine Latoya Grant Austin.
Queen.
Yes. And I'm an executive for a Fortune 300 company. I govern the billions of dollars that the company brings in. That's why I call myself the Queen Treasurer. I am also an author, a #1 Amazon best-selling author.
You better throw that around.
And in addition to all of that, I am the queen of the Austin Kingdom. I am the mother and the wife. We have a prince and a princess.
Nice. Amazing. So you have two
We
kids.
have two
Yes, we
kids,
have two
yes.
kids.
How old? What age?
11 and
7.
our son is 7. He'll be 8 in a couple of weeks.
Nice.
He
Yes.
is letting us know every day.
Every bit of that.
That's facts. You better know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So how did the Austin Kingdom get started?
Oh my.
Uh,
How'd you guys meet?
We
So
have very different versions.
That's always.
Yeah, and
You literally hear that with every single couple, mind you. It's not just them. That's a real thing. Personally, I think the reason that's a real thing is because the queens, sometimes they
Watch
get
it.
details kind of cloudy.
Be
They don't always.
Preach.
Be careful.
You know what I'm saying? And then I, have to come in and really kind of iron out some of the, details and. But anyways,
I salute you, King, for your honesty.
I'm just trying to keep it real.
So I just think that sometimes you all live in a fantasy world about what actually happened.
Complete
Wow.
fantasy.
So that's
So
we're
tell us
the
what happened.
realest.
What happened?
And usually it's because it's a drop of embarrassment.
That
in
part.
there
That
somewhere.
part.
So,
right.
so
So
in
we're
my
gonna-
case, the embarrassment was on her side, not mine.
Well,
Okay, let's talk about it.
Let's talk
About it.
so we're gonna give you the shortened version, but essentially
Okay.
we met at a college party.
Central to be exact.
Central to be exact. That at that point, that's where in Connecticut, that's where the college parties were always popping.
All right.
During that time, and I had went out with some of my girlfriends, and he was there with his brother, and he walked up to me and swiped my hair. Now, if y'all know anything, you don't touch a black woman's hair, okay?
He's trying to be funny.
He yeah, and so he swiped my hair, and
I was confident.
he said his exact words was, "Ma, you dancing kind of hard, ain't you?"
Ooh. Okay.
And this is where the story differs.
And this is where the story.
This is where we meet
Up to
across
that
the road.
point.
and you're gonna understand why.
Then we meet
Okay.
it.
I turned around in true mode, don't be touching me.
Okay.
And when I turned around, I wasn't expecting to see a 6'9" dude, right? So I turned around with a dude ready to scrap, like, don't touch me. Who are you? And yeah, I just looked and I was like, don't be touching my hair.
Okay.
Right.
Could
I
you-
had to back down a little bit.
Sir
just a
King
little
Austin,
bit.
could you give us where the detour happened? Could you fill us in with the details, please?
Y'all,
So-
y'all listen to this. Listen to this, y'all.
We're at the college party and we're getting it.
Listen to this.
I walk in, I tell my brother, yo, her right there, that's gonna be my girl. My brother's like, yo, you realize you play ball, right? Like, stop that. Like, no. I'm like, yo, he like, what you need a girl for? I'm like, yo, that's gonna be my girl.
Okay.
Walk over, everything is correct. Touch her head, while we dancing kind of hard. She turns around, keep in mind, y'all, college athlete, top peak physical conditioning.
Just to let
Captain
just to
of
let
the
the listeners know,
basketball team.
Toya is inside the studio right now. She's blushing. I'm feeling like this part of the story got some real heavy
I'm
facts.
gonna hold her down.
Okay.
I'm hold her
Listen.
down.
Y'all about to see.
Okay.
Y'all about
I'm
to hear
holding
what he's
down.
gonna
Okay.
say. Listen,
Alright.
go ahead. He's explaining all of this. Go
She
ahead.
turns around and sees nothing but my chest because my chest is out. Because I'm
In her height, obviously.
in the line of sight. She doesn't turn around with it too. She turns around with the eyes like oh, like
In amazement.
like
in awe.
in awe
Of a king.
of a king.
Okay.
And then
makes sense.
she further says, I asked her to dance. So we dance. And she's
I
like,
did tell
oh,
you don't be touching me.
I'll give her that.
Okay.
I will
Right.
give her that.
All right.
So then I'm like, yo, you want to dance? So we dance. And she's surprised that I can dance.
At 6'9".
At 6'9". She
I
was
got
like,
moves.
She was like, oh, whoa.
Not
he-
only do
he
I
can
have
keep
a
up.
chest, this dude got moves.
And it was a Jamaican set. Let me be real clear.
Wow.
The
It was
whole
a Jamaican set.
Jamaican set.
Yes.
Not everybody
See?
can keep up.
Makes
that
a
part.
difference.
That part.
Got you.
So then she continues with, she's like, oh, okay, all right. Her friends in the back, go, girl, go. Like, you know what I mean? So,
Do y'all hear this story, though?
Her friends
The
are in
story
the back.
just rings mad factual.
Go,
like
girls,
I'm just.
go. So, we're done dancing. The Jamaican set is over. I say, yo, Michael, could we slide over here and talk?
Yeah.
True to her form, attitude. For what? Why can't we stay right here? I'm like,
I mean,
Okay.
we're by the speaker. I can't hear you.
I can barely hear you.
She's like,
Oh.
oh, that makes sense. Like,
Oh, no doubt.
You right,
Oh,
you right.
You know what?
you know what?
Oh,
You
no.
right. You right. You right.
I can't. Bruh. Come on now.
the rest is history.
The rest is history.
The rest is
You know what?
history.
That's dope.
That's fire.
That's dope.
fire. You know what really is dope? I think of what's dope about any of those stories and where they differ is really, if I'm transparent and honest, it's really because I think it reveals, especially if it's the story that led you to the love of your life, the one you still married to,
Yeah.
for sure. It exposes a vulnerable and transparent part of you that you really, if you could have it your way all the time, would only keep that between you and your husband.
Right.
And so
Right.
if I'm going to tell somebody else this story, I'm going to leave this part out or slightly tweak this.
Yeah.
For me, I think this year marks our 5-year anniversary next month.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Yes,
Give it up.
congratulations.
And I think at this point, we've had so many of these like funny moments of sharing a story and a deturn and being bashful or whatever. At this point, I think I've arrived to a point where I'm totally comfortable
Very
being
much so.
just the transparent, honest
Very
dude
much
that for my part of the story where I was vulnerable
Yep.
and I was and for me it was without our audience has heard our story I think more than one time at least. For me the point of vulnerability was I didn't really want to be with nobody.
He didn't want to be
in a
tied
relationship.
down.
Yeah. And I had to admit that although my first encounter going to her
He
address,
never had a season, and he was trying to.
going to her house and meeting up for like
Jesus.
a date to go out for the first time. In my mind, I had I even told my mother because she knew where I was going. And my mother, long story short, used to, be our coworker. She knew she was the one for me. And she would always say, if you're not trying to really be in a long-term relationship right now,
Then leave her
you need to leave her alone.
That part.
Because I know she's your type. And I'm telling my mother, you don't even know that. You don't
know me.
And I'm telling my mother, trust me, I'm just going out to have fun. Like, I'm not gonna.
Understandable.
And I
That was
came.
Y'all hear that?
Hold on.
Listen.
I came home.
Listen, you don't understand.
so-
Hold on,
how
let me
we
finish.
feel
Let me finish.
over here.
I came home after that date at 3:00 in the morning after just sitting on the couch with this female for hours, cracking
Just
up.
talking. Yep.
And I was like, dang, Moms was right. I'm stuck. That was it.
So for those of y'all that are listening to this, both the queens leaned in and was like, his type. Like, y'all should have seen it. It was classic. Like, it was
Yo.
classic. But no, man, our mothers know us, man. And what's crazy about that is, true to your point, my father my father actually told me, he was like, son, you met the right girl at the wrong time.
Right.
Ah.
Right.
He
Yep.
was like, you're not done growing
That's some truth.
as a man.
Yeah.
And as queens, because I got to talk for us, right? And Queen Isis, you step in here, but I vividly remember saying to the king, we don't have to be in a relationship. We don't have to be committed. We can just do us and have fun. The issue was doing us meant I would do me too.
Right.
Not an option.
Right.
Nah.
Not an option.
Yeah, something
Negative.
about that.
Negative.
That's out.
It's something
that's
about
out.
that.
Right.
They can't handle.
That right on the other, when the shoe
Right.
was on the other foot.
Right.
Exactly.
Like, nah, we could play game. I could play ball. Just
that part.
We can play video games. Speaking of playing a game, what just kind of makes this in King Austin, you could share too, like one of the dopest things about my wife as just like a soulmate, a life partner, she has like that thing that I thought previously only I could do and enjoy doing for like a long period of time with the fellas. Like this chick, Queen Goddess Isis, has sat and played for 4 or 5 hours straight with me Mortal Kombat. Like, and we both are like hell bent on trying to beat this game.
as if we don't got kids.
Like, if we
wondering
don't
what
got
we
kids in
doing.
the other room, like I'm talking
So y'all
about
wanna feed us?
pausing, taking turns, pass the joystick, because she can't beat this character. I'm like, all right, let me try to beat him. I can't beat him, pass her the joystick. And this is some real, like, yo, this feel like me, one of my boys, like, for hours.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yo, there's no better, like, it don't get no better
that's all
than
blessings
that, bro.
Right there. That's all blessings.
Come on. So for all you millennial fellas out there, whether you're amongst our oldest or you one of them 24-year-old young ones that we got to just include you in it just because, all right. And if you think running the skateboard or you thinking, lifelong commitment marriage is a bore, is dull, is whack, I would challenge you to consider what the king just echoed from his pops. You might just be meeting and coming across some of these females at the wrong time. Or it just might be you haven't had that example
Right.
articulated or even visualized or shown to you.
Right.
And so that's what we aspire to do, whether it's our church community, whether it's our community at large, or whether it's our small community in our house of our children, is to show people, not just striving to show people successful marriage, but to show people fun marriage.
Right.
Happy. Like, this is
Right.
not boring. We
Yeah.
stay lit, just in our bubble,
Just
inside
us.
our house, just us.
That's it.
So the one piece of advice, right, I would give to my young princes out there, as well as even to the kings out there that are
Yeah,
married
yeah.
to their queen. What I would recommend to them is, if it's a lot of work, but if you feel like it's a struggle, then either you need to reassess how you're going about your marriage or ask for assistance with your marriage.
Right.
I think that's a vital part.
Yeah.
A lot of people just think that it comes with a manual, or because
Yeah,
one
yeah,
couple is
yeah.
successful, if we emulate what that one couple's
Yeah.
doing, we'll be successful, not realizing that you're your own unique individual. They're their own unique individual, and you have to figure out what works best for you as a couple.
Yeah.
Facts.
Just because it worked for Jay and Beyonce, the Queen and I,
Yeah,
doesn't mean it's gonna work
Facts.
for the King and Isis. You know what I mean?
Right.
Y'all got to make what
Facts.
works for y'all
Right.
work for y'all.
Facts.
So take that into consideration.
So real quick, if you enjoying this content, if you loving absolutely what you're hearing, you find value in it, please make sure you go out and follow everywhere on social media, Facebook, Instagram, at Free Lunch. That's FRII Lunch, at Free Lunch. And be sure to follow the Queen at Gloss with Isis. And we're going to have some plugins where you can find and connect with our guests as well later on. So with the King and Queen Austin, with you guys juggling everything as as professionals in the workforce, as entrepreneurs, What are you finding? What is your like why? What's the motivator for that successful thing in the millennial marriage? Like to do that well. What's the why for that?
So, Queen, please go forth, and then I will try to respond after.
No problem. So for me, it's to be able to set an example for our kids, the example that I didn't have, right? So for, I had my grandparents and they actually had a wonderful marriage, right? But to look at, there's a generational gap. So when you talk about them coming from the 40s, right? Being born in the 40s, definitely a different dynamic than the next generation after them and then our generation. So for me, the why as it relates to the marriage, as it relates to just the household, the kingdom building, is so that our children can have an example, right? So they can understand that they are prince and princesses and they will be kings and queens, and that they can have true love, that it exists, and that despite what is shown in the media, they can see firsthand an example of a thriving, loving, happy Black married couple, and know that it is definitely something that is not far reaching and that they can attest to firsthand. And so because of that, we do a lot, right? And we pour into our marriage, right? For me, there's nothing better than knowing that I'm loved and knowing that I love. Right? Wholeheartedly. And that's what we that's what we always, for me, come to, our happiness, the love that we have for each other, and the example that we want to set for our kids.
Facts.
So for me, I echo all those sentiments of the Queen, right? It's definitely for the kids, but it's also one of those, I don't want my kids to struggle, and the more you know and the more you grow and the more knowledge you attain, the easier the path can become for your children. Mm-hmm. So
hold on, explain that, break that down for me. What's the connection between if I'm motivated to doing the marriage well, and you said something that intrigued me because I don't want my kids to struggle.
Right.
So what's the connection there?
So,
what would they struggle with if you didn't do marriage well?
So growing up, right? Just growing up in general, typically, growing up in the inner city, you experience a lot of toxicity in your life. Whether that is external from the home or internal to the home. You get a lot of our brothers and sisters out there that come from broken homes, that come from homes where individuals struggle with addictions, whatever type of addictions they may be. Yep. So that can do a lot of internal damage. You know what I mean? And then if you're constantly exposed to that, and you're constantly exposed to negativity, and you're constantly told you don't belong, and when you're constantly told, no, this area, this environment, this culture is all that you have and all that you're able to attain, then
that's the struggle.
That's the struggle.
I wanted to pose a question to the two of you to approach together that we've heard numerous of times as individuals and many times about, if there was a particular animal that described you, what would that animal be? But instead, because as married couples, we understand ourselves as one coming together, I want you to now tell me, my goal was to, if you each had a different answer, to give you both the answer, but you actually guys told me before the show that you actually came up with the same answer. So
absolutely,
I want you to share with me, if there was an animal that described the Alstons, one single animal, what would that animal be? And then what attribute or characteristic of that animal describes each of you?
Got it. So, Queen, I'll take this one to turn it over to you. Okay. The animal that we selected was a lion. And
right.
we both came up with that independently.
Like literally.
Like,
All right.
literally,
just looked at each other and
and
was like,
was
lion.
lion.
Like, yeah.
Facts. Like, you know what I mean?
So what part of the lion is King Reggie?
So the part of the lion that's King Reggie, I would have to genuinely say one is the protector of the pride and of the pack and of the family. Kind of asserting that self as, no, I'm the leader of my household and I will defend it with my life if necessary. But also understanding the dynamics of how a pride works. You know what I mean? It's a family, you know? The kings can definitely hunt and eat and survive on their own, but they're stronger when they have their lioness behind their back.
Facts.
So for me,
Y'all hit these gems right now? It's much easier. It's more efficient. He just said you could do it. It's nothing to take from you. We're not taking them from them kings, them young, strong princes out there. You could do it. But if it could be done more effectively and easier.
From the book of Neo, right? What is that? I'm a movement by myself,
Come on,
but
now.
I'm a
Come on now.
we're together.
We're together.
Well,
That's right.
Was you finished, King? Was that your pick? All right. So what part of this line is Queen Austin?
So, as the king stated, you know, the lioness, right? So when I think of lion, and I think of the lioness, I think of chess. I think of
The board game.
the board game chess.
Okay.
The queen is the most powerful piece on the board.
talk about her.
She can move anywhere she wants. She protects her king.
Yo, this is crazy. Hold on. I'm gonna integrate. This is crazy because she's like low key, all in my secret notebook of like texts that I have to actually write a book on this very analogy that she about to break down. This is crazy right now. Go ahead, finish.
So she can move anywhere on the board.
Unlimited spaces.
Unlimited spaces.
Any
Go
direction.
as far as she would like, in any direction she would like. She
This is
can
crazy.
redirect, right? Her goal is to protect her king, right?
That part.
By his side, she can sit still when needed. When needed, right?
crazy.
So for me, in our kingdom, the lion and the lioness represents us very well because that's exactly what I do. I know when to move. I know when to stay still. I know how to protect my king, and I let my king lead.
It's no mistake
That's crazy.
why in Wakanda forever, the dominant female tribe that protected the king was all women.
Right.
That was crazy.
That's it.
That was crazy.
That's it. And look how confident even the male is.
Right.
Look how confident that lion is in his lioness.
That's true. Well,
You
hold
know,
up. I don't
like-
know if you meant confident, like, because I trust the lioness will protect him. When she said confident, you know what came in my mind is how a certain males, because of their lack of self-confidence,
Right.
are
That
intimidated
part. Exactly.
by a strong female. That's what I.
Exactly.
That's
And
what
that's
my
what I
mind
mean.
went when you said
Very
confident.
much
Exactly.
so.
So
Very
what I-
much so.
So what I tell everybody is, they see my timid nature, and I tell everyone, it takes
They see the
an
low
even
key.
stronger man
To be with a strong
to be
woman.
with a strong woman.
Absolutely.
Right.
If
That's
you're not
crazy.
secure in who you are and know what you do and know what you bring to the table and know how to handle yourself as a king,
Wow.
can't sit on the throne.
Can't.
Run that bar right back one more time. It takes what?
It takes an even.
Hold up. Yeah, I want y'all to hear this. Tune in right now. Turn your volume up on your iPhone. If you listening on your iPhone and you turn the volume up real quick. Check this out.
It takes an even stronger man to be with a strong woman. If you're not confident in yourself to be able to lead as a king, how can you lead a kingdom? Don't sit on that throne.
Talk to this man.
Don't sit on that throne.
Talk to us, bro.
Right.
This dude's dropping gems right now.
That's crazy.
Yo, so for us, I chose to challenge us to chew on the same question.
Love to hear it.
Go ahead, baby.
The wife didn't have time to deliberate as long as I did.
Did not.
Obviously, because I'm
But
coming
I'm
up.
completely in agreement.
I'm coming up with the agenda today.
Fully in agreement.
But I talked to her about it and shared it on that car on the way over here to the studio. So I said, I think the animal that would symbolize and represent the Elliott kingdom the best would be the bald eagle. The foresight, the eyesight, the seeing from a long distance.
Respect.
Yep.
All right. And the just the natural strength. For my wife, I see it as representative of the eagle's talent and the ability to soar high above all other things if necessary. But in the event they have to swoop low, many people don't know an eagle's talons are strong enough to lift and pick up a wild goat with just its talons. It could be both beautiful, which is also indicative, representative of my wife, graceful.
I love that.
It could be a thing of beauty or a thing of tenacity that you don't want to have nothing to do with.
Tell them again.
Yeah. Beauty and tenacity. And to your point, when you talked about the lioness and protecting that king, it's crazy how certain facets of those attributes in each of us only show themselves when provoked by a certain opportunity or situation your marriage encounters.
Absolutely.
You might not have seen all the
Right.
the faces of your spouse
Right.
until you've been married 10 plus years. 5 years in, I feel like I've seen a number of,
It's ever
faces.
evolving.
But it wasn't until I just had this health scare recently that I saw really that lioness as it relates to me.
Yep.
See, I've seen the lioness go and draw the talons or the claws with the little ones.
Yep. Yep.
I watch how it could get real ugly for you with that cub.
It gets real.
I didn't know there was a level to that. If there's some indication that the king might be in trouble,
That part. Yep.
them joints was.
We got a whole nother problem.
I was scared, bro.
It goes down though.
We got a
Like
whole
I
problem.
was really like, word, like yo, this could get real. Like we shared that a little bit in our last.
We did.
The first episode
We did.
with the hospital staff.
We
like
did.
Yeah.
everything really wasn't on the up and up or them tending to what they needed. And I was in too much pain to even try to even call myself making a phone call to the wife.
Right.
It's just a working at the hospital family member happened to get word back to the wife. And now next thing I know, it sounded like a SWAT team moving through the hallway on the way to my room.
That part.
And I'm like, oh shoot.
Yeah.
I've never seen this before.
So
She will protect her
so-
king.
so
That's
the
what she's
one-
supposed to do.
So the one thing I would say, right? One, glad that you're back, brother. I see you looking
Yes, sir.
stronger and healthy.
Yes, sir.
I know nothing's ever 100%.
I'm gonna be back in there Tuesday. I'm gonna be right back after that.
Yeah, but don't worry.
that's okay.
That's
God got
okay.
you.
God got you. You're
Facts.
looking stronger. You're looking healthy. Don't worry.
Facts.
We already put it out
Facts,
there.
facts.
So because we put it out there, don't put it out there and retract it. And two, you gotta understand we evolve as people over the years. We don't look the same. We don't weigh the same. We don't dress the same. We don't act the same. So if we're evolving as people over the years, how foolish are we to think that our marriage won't evolve over the years? Like process that.
Like that, you know what? I'm chewing on that for a minute because you said what makes us think then our marriage won't evolve or change over the years, but I've heard other people attribute change in the marriage as a negative. Like they've associated the breakdowns or something that went wrong because whether it's the wife pointing the finger at the husband or vice versa, husband at the wife, you've changed. Now, obviously, there's bad changes that can happen, but sometimes I think what can catch some couples blindsided is that even in the face of a good change, that if a moment was taken to take a step back and look at it objectively, was good for my husband, or that change was good for my wife, and I simply may not have been ready for that change. Maybe my pace of maturity or growing in the marriage was maybe not at the same pace. And so I perceived that otherwise good, positive change in my spouse as a threat or as a negative.
But that goes back to the communication. Then you're going to be aligned. You're going to be aligned. Now, there are different phases of the marriage, right? There's phases where you don't feel your best or your spouse doesn't feel their best. But at the end of the day, it's a conversation. It's a conversation. So if you think back to any time where there was some misalignment, it really boiled down to, did you articulate what you were feeling? Were you vulnerable with your spouse?
Yeah.
Right? Did you say to them, I feel this, or this seems this way to me? Or did you, in fact, take whatever was happening, perceive it as how you wanted to perceive it, didn't have the dialogue, made your judgment call, and kept it moving? Right? Yeah. Because that tends to happen. You make up your mind before you even open your mouth to even think, and it's just a done deal.
This is what it is.
Right? Well, and so a lot of times when you hear, oh, well, this person changed, or, we grew apart, I think it's so interesting because if you're constantly having these conversations, you're dating, and you're being mindful of your spouse's need, you just don't grow apart. It doesn't happen. And that's just personally how I feel. Now, you can say that, oh, in the process, I feel like I lost myself, and now these are some things that I want, and maybe that doesn't align, right? But it's never just I wake up and we grew apart. No, right? And it's all really about being aligned and having those discussions, good, bad, and ugly. People want to skip the experience.
Yeah, the whole
right. Thing. They want the great happiness fairy tale, marriage, but they want to skip the experience and the things that you need to do to build it. And so to me, that's really the problem. That's the problem. It's not the end result. It's the problem. And yes, perception is everything.
With that, as the Queen stated, change doesn't happen overnight. You just don't wake up one day and say, nah, this is over. It takes a while to get there. So there's a few snippets or a few little tidbits of advice that I tend to give people. And I usually say this at every single marriage or every single wedding that we're invited to. Usually they kind of like had a camera in the reception and everybody like, yo, drop some knowledge for us.
Yeah.
So the first thing I tell individuals is, treat your marriage like you would your bank account. Don't just keep withdrawing from it because it's going to turn negative. Keep depositing into your marriage like you would your bank account. You want a positive cash flow? What do? You find means of income to, make sure that your bank account stay positive. Do that with your marriage. Go on dates. Take trips. Find time for yourself. Give them their individual time. There's no such thing as just a checking account. You got a checking account, you got a saving account, you got a joint account. So because of that, treat your marriage like you would your bank account. Second, don't be afraid of therapy. I'm going to say that again. Don't be afraid of therapy.
You dropping like entire episodes right now, man.
That part.
That's just the bank account.
It sounds like a book.
That's like a whole other episode, bro. You can't just come swoop in here and drop them lines real fast and think we gonna
Mike
be able to
Todd relationship goals where I'm looking for the Austin like joints. But we're
pour
bank
into
account, bro?
us, Queen.
Okay.
I'm stuck on the
It's
bank
here.
account, bro. You want to know why? Because what happened, I think, think when the pandemic hit, and maybe this could be a segue into that piece that I mentioned before we get a little bit into the Queen's book that I want to chop it up about. I think what happened to a lot of relationships and marriages we saw suffer when during the pandemic, during quarantine, and that extra time in each other's face that they wasn't used to was there were so many debits to the account.
Wow, it was already negative.
And so
That part.
when a time came where you didn't even have the ability to actually go work and put money in it, and you had to live off of what was ever in the savings, you had nothing.
Nothing. And what do they do when you overdraw your account too long?
You get overdraft fees, and if the overdrafts pile up, you get your bank account shut down, and if that stay too locked down, you can't even go to another bank and open it. It
That
gets
part.
real ugly.
That part.
You could probably get away a little bit with hitting the debits and not sewing in. But when it gets to an extended period of time, or any time in your relationships where, for our case, where one of the individuals is laid up. Now I physically I can't do the dates with you because I'm laid up for a whole month.
Right.
What have I hopefully poured into the marriage before I got laid up in a sling? And now the wifey, she don't mind coming by the bedside to wash me up because there's something in the account.
Right.
I got something saved up for that, boo.
That part. That part. Wow. That part.
The
Yeah.
bank. I'm waiting for the book, y'all.
Yeah, that part. It's
Marriage, the bank account.
it's
Speak
one of those
life,
things where I'm
speak
just
life.
like,
Thank
when
you.
is the
Yeah.
conference? When's the conference?
Talk about
Speak
it.
life. Listen.
So serious.
Thank you. Thank you.
So that was the key. That was the segue for me. Is you already gave me a glimpse into the window of how the Austins did it.
What a lot of people don't understand, right, is that the U.S. has the highest divorce rate globally. Just think
Oh,
about
wow.
that.
I
Throughout
didn't
the
even know
globe,
that.
the U.S. has
Yeah.
the highest divorce rate. Granted, a lot more people get married in the U.S., so that
Right.
Yeah,
definitely
That's
can,
so-
Context.
attribute, context.
Yeah.
Got to be fair, right? But people get angry when they gotta occupy one another's space and they haven't learned the person yet. So when you haven't learned your spouse, or when you haven't learned the individual that you're dating, that's what dating is for. Dating is to get to know them. A lot of times what happens is people will get together, right? They'll have intimate moments. They'll have kids. They'll choose to stay together for the kids. They'll raise the kids. Then the kids go away, and you like, yo,
Now it's
I
just
don't
you.
even
I'm
like
stuck with this
you.
person
Right.
I don't even like.
You're
don't even
almost
know
like,
I don't
you.
even
Who
like.
are you?
Why did this
COVID,
happen?
Like, and
Right.
COVID forced you to be in a space to say,
To know that person.
"Do I know you?"
it forced you to do marriage.
It forced
It
you
forced
to
you
forced
to
you
do
to do
marriage.
And if you
Wow.
haven't been
Doing
doing marriage, then
It-
you
it
are
became
completely
blatantly
blindsided.
apparent. It became
Completely
blatantly
blindsided.
apparent.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I think the pandemic forced people to sink or swim.